This is the theme to Baseball Shangri-La.
La,
Baseball
la,
Shangri-La. We're
la,
singing this song because we don't have a theme song.
la, la, la.
There we go. That was much better. It's getting better, people. And don't worry, hopefully eventually we'll get a theme song. If anybody comes across this, if you're watching us, if you're listening to us on the audio, and you have some musical ability, and you want to create a theme song for Baseball Shangri-La, by all means, please send us your submissions. Reach out to us on Instagram, on X. You can follow my hand. Oh, is what happened to our handles? Our handles aren't up.
Oh,
Can you see our handles? We're new.
ta-da!
Okay, thank
Look at
you.
that. It's magic.
We're rookies here, as you can see. This is only our second episode. Everybody, we're
Hey,
still working out the kinks.
thanks for being part of our journey.
That's right. You are part of the journey. So there are our handles on X. You can follow me at Blue Revolt Film. Amy.
At Amy underscore Cuevas underscore. We got two of those in there. And then we also have socials. So
Yes. So hit us up on the socials if you have what you think would be an awesome theme song for Baseball Shangri-La. By all means, we welcome you. You'll be a part of our family. So
unless you like hearing us sing, and then by all means let us know that too. So
yeah, let us know if you think we should just keep what we're doing, then we're gonna go ahead and do
if
that.
your ears aren't bleeding.
That's why would they be bleeding? I mean, we are like angels. We are like angels singing. So if you've come back, hopefully you saw, you watched, you listened to our first episode, and you liked what you heard. I promised you we were going to talk baseball. Well, now we are talking baseball from this point on. We got all that other stuff out of the way. Now we're going to talk about some Dodger baseball. Spring training is right around the corner. So let's start off by let's getting Amy's point of view on all these offseason moves. And of course, what is the biggest story from the offseason is the Shohei Ohtani signing. So, Amy, your initial thoughts when it finally happened about Shohei coming to the Dodgers? Or
As
actually, you know what? Looking back, let's do it this way. Looking back, is your reaction still the same or is it different? Has it finally settled into you that Shohei Ohtani is a Dodger?
I think it's softened, but my initial concerns are still there. So I am excited to see him in a Dodgers uniform. I'm excited to see him play in the stadium. I think it's going to also bring a whole bunch of new fans to our lovely little Dodgers world. But I still have concerns, the same concerns I had before he came over. The contract deferral definitely softened it. So 10 years, 700 million. So he's going to have that average annual salary of 70,000. He's deferred 68,000 of it, or 68,000. Wow, I just totally underbid that. 68 million. Let's put an M instead
We're
of a K in
math
front of that.
majors here. That's why we're talking about the Dodgers.
I
We
do
like
not.
math.
I don't math this late in the evening. So 70 million average annual salary, and he's deferring 68 million of it. So I think that did soften the initial hurt when I found out that we did get him. But I am still a little bit concerned. He had those, he had the initial surgery in 2018, Tommy John, and then he had the revisionist surgery in September. My biggest concern is we don't know how he's going to perform as a hitter, as a pitcher in 2025 when he comes back. And it's a lot of money to pay for a player that we don't know how he's going to perform. But again, he's a unicorn. Everybody wants to see him play. So we'll see how it shakes out. I know
Like,
you were a little on the more positive side of it.
oh, well, look, I loved watching that guy play. And whenever I would watch Angel games, the thing, and I've said this, the thing that I find most impressive is not his home run hitting ability or the fact that he can pitch. The way this guy runs bases, I was just not expecting it because he is a big dude. He is a really big dude. When the Dodgers were down in Anaheim and they're playing the Angels, and I was over there covering the game, and I got a good view up front of this guy's just a monster. And for him to be the way he goes from first to third, I just think a guy that size shouldn't be able to do that. And that's why I'm so excited to be able to watch him every day. Now, I understand like your concerns, and I feel like If you listen to Angel fan, I have some friends that were Angel fans, and they initially, when the news broke and everybody was like, "Hey, congratulations, you got Shohei," there were a few Angel fans saying, "You guys don't know what you don't know what's coming your way. You really don't." And that is, if you look at the Angels, they had Mike Trout and they had Shohei Ohtani, and they never made the playoffs. Right now, the difference is the Dodgers are not the Angels. The Dodgers have a more complete roster, so I don't anticipate that's going to happen. But yeah, you're right. The Dodgers last year won 100 games and they weren't supposed to, right? Everybody thought it was a down year. So, can the Dodgers survive if Shohei goes down? If Shohei is not Shohei this year? Yeah, they can go ahead and do it. So, for me as a fan, I'm very excited because I get to see Shohei Ohtani play every day. But what's also not lost on me, Amy, is this was strictly, in my opinion, a business decision. You know, there's just a baseball impact to it, but this was a business decision, in my opinion. The Dodgers were signing this guy because they saw dollar signs. Like, how many times has everybody told me when they announced it's $700 million? Everybody was already explaining to me, well, the contract pays by itself. It pays for itself. You know, the Dodgers don't have. It's not 700 million. Coming out of their pocket. It pays for itself because of all the advertising, and that is the reason why they were so gung ho. If you believe the reports, it's almost $100 million more than what the next team was offering. Now, supposedly the Blue Jays were willing to go to over to 700 as well. Now, the Blue Jays owner is extremely wealthy. In the end, Shohei Ohtani picked the Dodgers. And again, I think that says so much about him. I gained so much respect from the fact that he chose to do the deferrals. Because this is a
And who
guy.
saw that coming?
Yeah,
I didn't have that on my bingo card when I was like, "Oh, that's a really hefty price to pay, like 700 million." And then we didn't even find out right away about the deferrals. Like,
right. But the
that
thing
was
is,
delayed.
I think it's smart on his part. Now, he's probably the only player who could do that because
Absolutely.
I think the amount of money that he makes in endorsements in 1 year, he's still going to, in just endorsements alone, I think he makes more money than the highest baseball player does in 1 year. So, yeah, if you're making that much money in endorsements, I think it makes a wonderful savings account. Yeah, just put my 68 million every year. I'm putting 68 million in my savings account.
Well,
So,
and I was looking, he's not even gonna get that first payout till he's 39. So in 2034, he'll get that first 68 million installment in July. And it's just like, oh, good for him. The last payout's gonna be when he's 48. So he's literally just banking all of that, like you said.
it's an extreme. I think it's just a very smart business decision, and I think it's a game changer. But again, we can't lose sight of the fact that he's a unicorn, and I think he's the only guy that could have done this. Are we going to see another player do something like this? Probably not. But then again, when was the last time we saw somebody who could hit and pitch? You know, it
And
wasn't like Babe Ruth. That's the last time we saw it.
well, and I was looking more into even just like the surgery, like post like recovery and whatnot. And of course, he has a great surgeon. I hope I don't butcher his name, but isn't it Elatrash?
Yeah,
Neil Elatrash.
yeah.
Um, Yeah. So he said the chances of full recovery are the same as the first surgery, but because he bats left and pitches right, that's why it's not as much of a concern. And so, okay, I can see that. That kind of again softens the blow a little bit. So I'm hopeful. I'm cautiously optimistic that he returns to full form when he's a designated hitter for us next year, and then even better when he's pitching. But I'm biting my lip a little bit, like, oh god. I hope
Well,
it's okay.
another reason why I'm excited about it is it's just I feel like it's going to bring a whole new level of excitement to Dodger Stadium, and for everybody who is like, well, what's the point of going to the game? I could just stay home and watch them. All the games are on TV. There is something about being in a baseball stadium when there is that level of energy. I go back. I was at the game when Chris Taylor hit the walk-off home run in the wild card game against the Cardinals. And that stadium was so loud. I literally could not hear my daughter who was sitting right next to me. I couldn't hear her, and that energy, it just pumps you up, and I just feel like you're gonna have that kind of energy at Dodger Stadium every day because when that guy comes up to bat, you're expecting that he's gonna do something very, very special.
Well, and you and I have had conversations about kinda we have a great team. Everybody gels together. I mean, we even saw last year, like, they all do stuff together. But even after, like, the initial bump with the Freddie dance, some of that, like, the luster kind of fell off of it. So maybe this will bring that extra oomph or that extra excitement to the clubhouse that, maybe that little piece that we're missing, and it can just kinda push us over the hump too. Some of those things you see with dugout or celebrations, after a home run or whatever it's going to bring. You already see the presence that some of the players just how they talk about him because he's there putting in the work, and we're not even at spring training.
Right, and all the stories were all the teammates in Anaheim loved him. So
Mhm.
I do feel like he's gonna fit into this dugout, into this clubhouse. I mean, the Dodgers clubhouse runs itself. You have guys that really they police the clubhouse. And I think you have very laid back. I think the majority of the Dodger players are laid back. There are some red asses in there, Walker Bueller, Clayton Kershaw, but I think there's a really good blend. And I know, especially last year when your favorite Geekes showed up, there is that chemistry that kind of will blend in. So I don't anticipate he's going to have any problem meshing with the clubhouse. I hope he does have a very a huge season. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the playoffs. I want him to put on a show in the playoffs. And look, I mean the great story, and I think it's going to be difficult. And we might get into this into future episodes, but everything so far has gone right for the Dodgers. And when was the last time in a season that a team everything has gone right for them from the beginning of the season to winning the World Series? So that's still left to be seen. But if this guy does end up winning the World Series in his first year playing for the Dodgers, I mean, it's going to be an amazing story. It's just, I can't wait for that to happen. I am very excited about it. In terms of the size of the contract, like everybody likes to say, it ain't my money. One thing I do want to get into, guy, because I know people, this has already can't come into effect, is everybody's expecting everything to cost a lot because they're going to pay Otani's contract. Guys, we just told you right now, he deferred 68 million of it with the amount of money they're making on advertising. That's what's paying for the contract. Now, that doesn't mean the Dodgers aren't still going to raise the prices. Of look, this is capitalism. They're going to make money. And Amy should know because Amy's a season ticket holder.
My tickets went up before we even knew that Shohei was a possibility. So, I mean, they already went up a couple $100, this year. So, I anticipate they will again next year, but I mean, they do marginally every year. So, that's the price of us being such a destination for people to come to. It's not like we're, one of the parks that doesn't really invest in their team. When have you ever seen Dodger Stadium really empty? I mean, there might be some nights where it's not full, but I think we still draw a crowd even on our lowest attendance nights.
Not since McCourt have I seen that stadium empty. I mean, people show up regardless whether this team is good. People show up because it's an experience. I think the what they did with the center field plaza, I think it has been wonderful, and I think it's also part of the reason why that stadium sometimes looks empty is
Mhm.
because I've done this before. I buy the cheapest seat, either in the reserve or in the top deck, and then I'll just go hang out in the center field plaza, just to get in. It's all about just getting in. Or sometimes what I'll do, I really like what they did in the pavilions, where you can stand now in the pavilions. They have those little tables out there. So I do that. So when people go, oh, look how it's totally empty up at the top. That was like, it may be empty at the top, but they're all hanging out in the center field plaza, or they're out with the cholos or the all you can eat gordos out in the pavilions.
Or they're in the dugout club, or not the dugout club, but the Gold Glove bar. I mean, that has air
Yes.
conditioning. I've gone in there in the middle of summer when it's like a 90 plus degree game. I'll go watch it on the screens in there. So I think there's not a bad seat in Dodger Stadium, no matter where you're watching it. Even if you're in the pavilion, like the plaza, and they've got the big screen TVs there, there's not a bad seat.
I mean, it's so crazy that it finally happened, the Ohtani thing. I do want to get your opinion because there was that madness before it actually happened, right? Where JP Hornstra of Dodgers Nation came out and reported that he was signing with the Blue Jays, and then all hell broke loose. And next thing you know, Ohtani on his own Instagram breaks the news. Nah, it's the Dodgers. Look, you and I, we know JP Hornstra. We've covered games with him. What was your reaction to that?
So I had both sides of the spectrum. Like the female journalist part of me was like, "Oh my gosh, you got to fact check. Like you don't release that stuff without knowing." And it was just a how could you do that? And I think it was you who reminded me like, "Hey, he thought he had a credible source. Like have we all not like maybe put a post up on Twitter quoting somebody else?" So like I get both sides of it, but it just was like, "Wow, look at how emotional this fan base just got. Like that's interesting." Huh. But, it all ended well with him announcing that he was a Dodger on that Saturday morning, so
Yeah, because look, I'll be honest with you. I didn't think he was going to come. As much as I wanted him to come, I just thought that it's just too good to be true. Like for him to come to the Dodgers, especially when you think about legacy, right? And maybe it's because I just watch too much NBA basketball, but all this talk about super teams and how, LeBron doesn't get credit because it's like, oh, well, he joined a super team in Miami. And I feel, and I don't know this for a fact because I don't know Shohei Ohtani, but is Shohei Ohtani somebody who pays attention to his legacy? Does he pay attention to that kind of stuff? And is his in his mind, does he want to be a guy that, hey, I'm the reason why a team won a World Series and stuff like that. I
that
don't
was
want
the
to.
narrative on both sides though, because you had people saying he doesn't wanna be part of that big super team. He wants a team where he can show that he's done this himself, and then, the other half of Twitter or X is talking about how, like, "No, no, he wants to go to a team that's gonna win," and it's like, well, only Shohei knows, and I think that's something that I'm actually looking forward to is nobody really knows anything about him, so how much more through this season are we all gonna get to know him as a person and as a player?
I am curious to see if we're going to see more of his personality with the Dodgers. If he is going to, and it also could be just maturity. He's getting older. He's been in Major League Baseball more years. He knows how it works now. I mean, this is a guy who's still going to be able to control the narrative. He's still like when he wants to talk to the media, he will talk to the media. If he doesn't want to talk to the media, he's not going to talk to the media. So I am curious to see because he seems like the glimpses, the parts that he has shown somewhat of a personality, he seems like he's a fun guy. So,
Speaking of media, how did you feel during his press conference?
I,
Because
I
I have
just
my feelings about it,
no,
but,
I
like,
want to
curious
hear it
on
because
yours.
I didn't have any like I know that he got shit that there were people were like especially when Yamamoto showed him up, like Yamamoto coming in talking in English, and like I saw a couple of comments where people were just like, well, why couldn't Shohei do that? Like again, that was to me, Shohei controlled every aspect of it. We saw as much as Shohei wanted us to see. What were your reaction to it?
You know me coming from the cautiously optimistic side, but still being somewhat, just excited. I had chills when I was watching it. Like, like, took a break from work and, like, turned it on, and it was just like, this is a moment in history, and this is why I love this team, regardless of how I feel, my opinion on how or why we signed him. Like, wow, look at this guy and look at this moment in history, and it felt I don't it's why I love this team. So, I was happy.
It did feel, I will agree with you in that sense. It did feel like, I don't want to say it was an earth shattering moment, but it did feel like this was a moment that changes things. Yes, the Dodgers won a World Series in 2020. Let's not forget that. But let's say if the Dodgers win the World Series in 2024, Shohei could say they didn't win it till I got there. I mean, they had stacked teams, the year before, and they didn't win. And then I came and I put them over the hump. But it does feel not just in terms of baseball terms, but in terms of the culture. Like we saw this. There's already murals of the guy. They already have murals of Shohei, and you didn't see that when he was down in Anaheim. And if you did, I missed it. So if there are Angel fans out there, and this is probably where we're going to start getting the hate and be like, you guys don't know what you're talking about with Shohei. It just does
I
feel.
don't. I'm learning. I'm learning.
It does feel like it is a changing of the guard. It does feel like I'm very, again, for many reasons, for seeing him play on the field, but I also want to see what it does that in the stands, because for many times we've talked about this, you and I, and that is you see mainly a lot of Latinos at Dodger Stadium, and they're all rocking their Fernando Valenzuela jerseys, and I am very curious what's going to happen, what the ticket demand is going to be now that you have Shohei there, and he's going to be playing every day. And it's just very exciting times. But look, that was just the first signing that the Dodgers, big signing that they did in this offseason, right? Any other team, if they just had signed Shohei, would consider that to be a winning offseason. And this is just an example of how ludicrous this offseason is for the Dodgers, because the
And keep
next.
in mind, we got Glasnow before we got Shohei, and he got overshadowed by the whole thing.
Wait, is that? I thought it was the other way around. It was Shohei
Mm,
signed first, and then the Glasnow trade happened.
hold on. Date wise.
Check me on the timeline there, because
No,
the
wait,
way.
maybe you are right. Maybe I
No,
totally blew
say
that.
it again. Say it again for the crowd there.
You are correct. No,
Exactly.
I think it was in the works. So we signed Ohtani officially on December 11th, and that's right. Glasnow came in on the 16th. But I think by the time we did the press conference, we had already signed Glasnow, and that I think that got a little bit overshadowed.
Well, I mean, and that's the other thing, right? Like the Dodgers had this checklist in the offseason. This is what we need, right? Shohei was on the top of the list, but pitching because we saw how the last season, the end of the 2023 season
That was
ended.
where my concern stemmed from. Like, we can't limp along like we did last year. Like, we got lucky with 100 wins.
Right.
So
Well, and again, and that's why I feel there was some credence to your feelings, because I think, again, I don't want to speak for you. You're here. You can speak for yourself. But if you were spending 70 million on one player, does that mean you have enough money to go get pitching, which is what was your biggest concern, is
was
that you needed
literally my
pitching?
concern, was that if we're going to go out and spend 500, 600, 700 million, whatever his final signing amount was, does that leave anything left over for us to even get anything? And at the time, without the deferrals, how are the Dodgers going to balance that? So yeah, that's where a lot of my concerns stem from, that and the injuries. And like I said, deferrals soften that. But yeah, him coming over Glasnow, like, definitely bolstered the rotation. And
And,
then we still have another one after that.
well, exactly. And I'm going to save the whole money spending for a different episode. But the fact that they were then, after they got Shohei, they were able to pull off the trade that they did for Glasnow. Now, again, the same thing that you were saying about Shohei Ohtani is what everybody's been saying about Glasnow. Everybody was concerned about his health. Is this guy going to be able? Nobody doubts that if this guy stays healthy, he is a game changer. If the Dodgers didn't make the next move that we're going to talk about, you could very easily say that Glasnow is your ace. Um, the fact that the Rays have done it again, I mean, this was a walk year for Glasnow. They develop these pitchers, they take advantage of these pitchers, and then when it comes to pay them, all right, thank you for your service. You can go on your way. But again, not only did they pull off the trade, but they immediately signed him to an extension. They have him for 5 years. So if this dude can stay healthy and he performs the way he performs again, everybody I always saw was, look at the 2025 rotation. Look what the 2025 rotation is going to be like. I was like, guys, let's just get through 2024 first. But I mean, your thoughts? They did give up a guy who pitched really well for the Dodgers last year. And if he didn't get hurt, who knows what his season could have looked like. But at the end of the season, Ryan Pepio could have been, many argued, the Dodgers' best pitcher. It is unfortunate that we didn't even see him pitch in the postseason. but giving up Pepio, you still make that trade, right, Amy?
I think so. Like, I was really bummed to give up Pepio because, like you said, I mean, he got injured, I think in spring training. He had that, I think it was an oblique strain. And we didn't even get him till the end. And once we did, he was lights out when he did come in for us. And then it's unfortunate we didn't get to see him in the postseason at all, even in that game 3. But for whatever reason, the powers that be in the front office decided no. So while I'm bummed because I think he did have promise for us. You are getting a more veteran arm. And for all intents and purposes, Glasnow has said that that second Tommy John really did the trick. So him coming back after he got injured in spring training last year. So once he came back, his numbers were stellar. So if we can get that guy in our rotation, then I think we're doing pretty good.
So the Dodgers are literally going through their checklist, right? We got Ohtani. We need a
Check,
pitcher. Let's go get Glass now.
check.
People were still saying, all right, you even though you got Glass now, you still need more pitching. You don't have enough pitching. So what do? They go sign Yamamoto. That one, like once they got Ohtani, even with the deferrals, I was like, there is no way they're gonna because at that point the rumors were that Yamamoto was gonna get 300 million. I was like, there is no way the Dodgers are gonna give $1 billion to two players. And I was proven wrong. Now, everybody was an expert. The way you got shit on for Shohei Ohtani, I got shit on for Yamamoto. Okay. Because all of a sudden, everybody's an expert on Yamamoto.
Don't you love when people take things out of context?
Like, everybody's an expert on Yamamoto. And not only is everybody an expert on Yamamoto, everybody is convinced that his stuff is going to play in Major League Baseball. Now, I had an opportunity to talk with Rob, the minor league pitching instructor for the Dodgers, and he was able to convince me that it's less like, dude, this guy's stuff is going to play. It's going to play in Major League Baseball, and that's always been the concern: is will that, is it going to translate? Yeah, the Japanese league is it's a good baseball league, but we're talking about the Major League Baseball, all right? We're talking about all the greatest baseball players around the world are playing in this pond. So I hope it because if this guy is as good, I mean, he's out there throwing javelins, doing tai chi, like he's like literally bending over backwards, like
That
if
makes my back hurt just thinking about it.
like if he is good, you have Yamamoto and you have Glass now. All right. Those are your first two
Mhm.
in a short series. And of course, all of this is about the playoffs. I love that we're not even talking about the regular season. Like the regular season is a foregone conclusion. Let's just start the playoffs now. And in the first two games, you have Yamamoto and you have Glass now. That's got to be a confidence builder.
That and then you still have, like he's still got a little bit of growing to do, but you've got Bobby Miller, who really proved himself last year. At some point, we're hopefully gonna get Bueller back to full health and giving him all the innings that he can do, but obviously, we're gonna have to build him up first in the beginning. But, I mean, we've got some arms coming our way. So
Exactly. So I mean, it's just nuts to me that the Dodgers really they spent more than $1 billion on those three players: Otani, Glasnow, Yamamoto, and they
but
still
wait, there's more.
yeah, exactly. But wait, there's more. And not only that, but it's like we still haven't. They really didn't give up much to because two of them were free agent signings, and the trade. Look, anybody will tell you, yeah, I'd rather have Glass now than Pepio. And this is all about winning now. And I think that is what I love about this. The Dodgers are super aggressive. I think this is what everybody was waiting for. Last year, when they weren't as aggressive in the offseason, everybody, well, they better be aggressive than next year. If there's a method to their madness, they're doing this because they're gonna but I didn't even expect this. The level of aggression. I mean, on those three players, over $1 billion. Amy, did you think they were going to be this aggressive?
I had no, I was I was probably desensitized because of the last 2 off seasons where it was like, yeah, I mean, we got, like, a big name, and then we had the off season where we really got nothing, and then we limped through the season and still won 100 games. Like, how spoiled are we, right? But I no, and then to still have other players that we got, I think in this case, like, it did hurt a little bit to lose Pepio, but you and I have talked before. There's a lot of these guys who just need a shot to play in the big leagues, and we're just keeping them down on the minors, and they need a shot. They need to be able to go out there and play. And if Pepe is going to get more time, or even if whatever team he's on makes it to the Rays, make it to the postseason, maybe he's going to get to pitch this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We even went 10 for 10 in arbitration this year. Like we I say we a lot like I'm in the front office with the Dodgers, but the Dodgers were able to settle arbitration with all 10 players. Like how awesome is that? Even with the $1 billion plus payroll. So I think we've got a good team going forward.
You know what? And the whole arbitration process is so funny to me, right? Because if you don't come to an agreement and you go to arbitration, you literally have people on the team arguing, this is why we don't think you should make this amount of money, which there's no way that's good for any working relationship. But like Amy said, but wait, there's more. So not only did they already spend over $1 billion, they came to terms with all their players that were arbitration eligible. They end up signing Teoscar Hernandez. Now, I know for some people, Teoscar Hernandez does not, his name doesn't have the same level of impact as Shohei Ohtani, as Yamamoto, as Glasnow. But that was another dude similar like Yamamoto. I had thought, well, could the Dodgers really be into Teoscar Hernandez? And this is a dude who, if you look at it, especially in Toronto, he was really playing really well. He had a little bit of a down season with the Marineros, but I think that's because of that stadium. But this is a dude that has the ability to hit about 30 home runs a season.
Keep
And
in
I'm
mind, that team was the team to beat at the end of the season last year. Remember when we went into that September series with Seattle? Like everybody was looking at it like it was a preview into the postseason. Like we approached it that way. We ended up sweeping them, but
and then we
the
killed their
thought
season.
well,
The
yeah,
Dodgers
but
killed the season.
100%, but the thought was like, God, if we can't beat these guys are on a tear, like, we're gonna be screwed for the postseason. We went in there and, like, we smashed them, but it was those games were still hard. A couple of them, I think, went
Yeah.
into extra innings, and even if he wasn't as aggressive at the plate as we'd like to see while he was in Seattle, so he was in that stadium that's been giving him trouble, most of those bombs that were hitting out, they were center field or they were right field to him. Like a lot of those, like he killed a lot of plays for our guys. So defensively, that guy's a stud.
And what kills me, what I think is so funny, is that guy's probably going to end up hitting seventh in this Dodger lineup. That is what is so ridiculous. A guy who has the ability to hit 30 home runs is going to hit seventh in your lineup. And they got him because he hits really well against lefties. And the Dodgers love to do this, and they're going to continue to do this, where they have an all right handed lineup and then they have an all left handed lineup. I did not think, again, the level of aggression that the Dodgers front office took in this offseason was just something. I thought there was no way they would get Teoscar Hernandez because he was going to get paid by some other team. What was surprising to me about Teoscar Hernandez was that he took 1 year, and of course, there's more deferrals in that. $8 million
Mhm.
of that contract was deferred, and I think they are paying more in deferrals, I think, than some other teams like whole payroll. They already have like, I think, what, over 800 million or something.
Between like Mookie and Freddie, and it looks like Teoscar's won't start. He'll start getting paid in 2030, and he'll get 850,000 a year for 10 years. So again, another guy with the savings account to come in the future.
Yeah,
But
and we talked about it, the fact that Ohtani picked the Dodgers. Teoscar Hernandez picked the Dodgers, because I'm sure he had, maybe it was for less money, but it was multiple years with some other team, if you believe the reports out there.
He
But the
he said it in his press conference with the Dodgers. He said he had multiple year offers and he chose the 1 year because he knew what the Dodgers could do for him. He's willing to learn, he's willing to get better at the plate, and this was the place that was the best choice for him and his family, and that just speaks volumes about the Dodgers, the front office, the coaching staff. Like, you have people that want to come here and are turning down potentially better contracts to play here for a year. Like, that's pretty amazing.
And that's what's exciting to me, because if the Dodgers find a way to win the World Series in 2024, that's the template, right? Every other team or every player is going to want to come to the Dodgers, at least while Ohtani's there, or at least while they're on this run. They're going to be like, look, I'll go there for a year, get my ring, and then I'll go get paid later. And this is an opportunity. And I know, I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on this. And we can spend more time on this on future episodes. But this whole idea of how many World Series did the Dodgers have to win? I mean, let's not get too greedy, guys. Let's go ahead and just get through this phase.
But
Before we
also,
start,
let's not be spoiled either. We're talking about it like it's just Ohtani on the team. We have a couple people. Oh gosh, what are their names? Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. Like, there's some star caliber guys on the team. I just can't think of them off the tip of my tongue. Who are they? Like, we don't. The fact that, like you said, he's going to be hitting seventh. We have we have an all star team as our like our starting lineup. Like, that's pretty amazing.
I think those guys love the fact that having Ohtani on the team, not only because of what he's going to do for them, protecting them in the lineup, but I also feel that Ohtani's going to suck up so much energy that I don't think people are going to stop giving shit to Mookie about bowling. I think that's still going to happen.
Let the man bowl.
But I feel like guys like Mookie and Federico, they're not going to feel the need to have to. They can, because I don't take those guys, even though Mookie hosts his own podcast. I don't get the impression, and I could be wrong, I don't get the impression that he's a guy who loves the media and loves talking, to people. And I feel Federico's the same way. I feel like he just sits there. He does it because it's an obligation. He knows that this is part of his job, that I'm going to go ahead and talk to the media. The fact that Ohtani is going to suck up so much energy on this team, I anticipate. I mean, they already had great seasons last year. Is it even possible that guys like Mookie and Freeman could even have better seasons this year because they have Ohtani in the lineup?
I think I can't wait to find out. Like, I'm chomping at the bit, not only for opening day, but just I can't wait to go to spring training and just see what the energy is like, what the players look like out on the field. Like, I think it's just this whole year is just going to be electric.
I want to end the show with this because I want to get your thoughts. So the Dodgers have made these signings, but there is still one guy who hasn't been signed. He's a lifetime Dodger. There's a lot of reports. Is he going to go to Texas? Is he going to re-sign with the Dodgers? Clayton Kershaw. I mean, we still have to. I just don't feel enough attention is being paid he is injured. Like, everybody is acting like it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to pitch next year. Uh, Look, I point back to guys like Dustin May and Bueller. They kept saying Bueller was going to pitch towards the end of the year, and then what did they do? Bueller was just like, yeah, the Dodgers, let's just shut him down. The risk is too great.
We don't need
Kershaw,
another Trinan situation. We don't need, let's bring him back and then, oh, now he's going to be out for a whole nother year because we did more damage than we should have. So I think it was smart, but you're right. We have all these people we think that are going to come back or, come sooner than we'd like. That's going to be interesting.
I mean, what are you feeling? Are you feeling in your gut? I know there's a lot of belief that he'll be signed once you can start moving players to the 60-day DL, because then you're not taking up a spot on the 40-man roster. But what does your gut tell you? I know that there's the romanticism of it. Like, everybody wants to see Kershaw play his whole career for the Dodgers. Like, they want to see him retire as a Dodger. And I think there's so many fans that want us. I mean, if anybody's out there writing the script, The perfect script is he comes back to the Dodgers, he wins the World Series, and then he retires. He retires as a champion and he retires as a Dodger. What does your gut tell you? Do you think Kershaw resigns with the Dodgers? Does he pitch?
Um, just based on like how he is as a player, I think he might want to come back if he's healthy enough to do that. I definitely think if that's a factor, then they would put him on the 60-day injured list and then, sign him at that point. But I feel like his competitiveness, he's going to want to come back, even if it's just to pitch in, September, October, just to even come back from that last game two in the postseason, because you don't really want to end your legacy on that. I think the only thing that might stop him is if doctors are like, yeah, it's really not going to work out for you. Then why would you come back and pitch poorly? So I think he has a lot of decisions to make based on his health and how that progresses over the next couple of months, especially up until the Dodgers do potentially sign him.
I agree with you in the sense that he's probably got that game in the back of his head, that game one of the playoffs. But will we truly remember him as that? Like,
I
don't we
won't, but as
remember
a
his
as a
greatness?
competitive person, do you think that sticks in his craw? Like, that's like,
No.
anybody at work, like, "Oh gosh, you just said 3 great things about me in my review, but you said the one thing, and that's the thing I focus on." I don't know if him as competitive as he is, if that's the thing that really like, "No, I want a do-over on that," or do you just call it and you're like, "My body just can't do it anymore." And
Well,
that's the question from, we hear the "I'm fine, I'm fine." Are we gonna go into "I'm fine" this year?
Well, I hear it a lot from players. The ones that they lost, those are the ones that stick with them. Those are the memories that stick with them the longest. So you may be right. He just, he doesn't want to go out that way. But at the same time, Father Time is undefeated, right? If he physically can't go, like he also strikes me as the kind of guy that if he's not there and he comes back and it's ugly, it's just all like it was in game 1 of the playoffs last year. Isn't that even
Game
worse?
1. Sorry. Yeah, I said game 2. Game 1, yeah. I think at that rate, though, like, that is what it's gonna depend on his health, because I think he is a team player, and do you really wanna take a roster spot when the postseason is so important, or even leading up to the postseason? Do you wanna take that away from somebody else who could pitch well? I that those are the questions I think he has to answer. I would hope, based on how he has been as a player, that he would wanna retire as a Dodger if it came down to, yes, he is healthy enough to play again, and hopefully it would be a good outcome. I would think that it would be as a Dodger as opposed to going to Texas and pitching for 1 year, potentially with the Rangers.
Well, let's end on this, Amy. The Dodgers offseason, what grade do you give it?
Mm, I guess an A, maybe an A plus.
It's got to be an A plus. I mean,
I mean, it's exceeded everybody's expectations, even the people who were like, "Of course we're getting Ohtani," and then. So, yeah, I mean, and it's not even potentially still done. We've still got a couple more weeks, so
yeah, we still don't know what team is going to spring training. Like that, you're right. There still might be some additions made. So it's just very exciting. Spring training is around the corner. We're ready to go ahead and do this. Um, so you have been watching another episode of Baseball Shangri LA. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel. For those of you watching, you can see where our handles are on social media, on Instagram, on Threads, on Twitch. Wow, we're just everywhere. Like, make sure you follow us so you can go ahead and see where this show is going. As Amy likes to say, you guys are on the journey with us as well. So,
trying to figure it out.
so for this episode of Baseball Shangri LA, she is Amy Cuevas and I am Juan Ramirez. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.